Karen has $1 million saved up. Her house is paid off, her Social Security is locked in, and from the outside, she's set. But after losing her husband last year, Karen told me something that really stuck with me. I don't want to spend the next 30 years managing my money. I want to spend them living. If you're sitting on a solid nest egg and want it to do the work without worrying, this one is for you. Hey, I'm Patrick Imperato, and I used to fly fighter jets at 30. And now I help people in their 60s turn retirement into lifestyle, not a job. Today, we're looking at the Solid Rungs Profile. What happens when you've done the savings, but now it's time to make sure your income is hands-off, inflation-proof, and built to last. Let's look at the income health calculator for the Solid Rungs category. First, let's get a ladder overview of what that's gonna look like and how we break it up. So on the left, we have your total bills or all of the different types of things that you have to pay for every month. On the right, we have the income streams that match to what you have to pay for on the bills to the left. So we'll start at the bottom. First, the most important thing is housing, having a roof over your head. Then after that up, we go to utilities, then groceries and essentials, healthcare and financial, and then finally, we'll go leisure and transportation, gifts and legacies. We went from most important to least important on the bills side. So what we want to do is match that up with the most important to least important, or most reliable and then least reliable income stream on the right. So we'll go down over here. Social Security and pensions are traditionally the most reliable income streams that you can get. So we're going to match those income streams to housing. Annuities and treasuries, we're going to match those over to utilities. Bonds and CDs match to groceries and essentials. Dividend stocks and REITs, we're going to match with healthcare and financial. And then finally at the top, real estate and small business income, we're going to match with leisure and transportation. The big picture idea is that the most important thing is paid for by the most reliable thing. And then as we go up the ladder, the more risk occurs, but the less important that bill is to pay. So let's take a look and jump into Karen. So Karen is 60 years old. She's from Columbus, Ohio, living there, recently widowed, which is a bummer, but a former school principal. She loves gardening, family dinners, and then spending some time with her grandkids. This is her situation. Right now, she's retired with a pension, Social Security, and she has an IRA that she's getting a couple withdrawals from. Has a joint investment account with dividends, so we're getting some income there. Unsure about how to manage her income without constant oversight. So it's the time component for her that's pretty important. She wants a reliable plan without having to check the market or play the volatility of the stock market daily. And this is what we did for her with her income ladder. So her monthly bills were $4,000 a month, already in retirement, and she had roughly $1 million. The challenge is figuring out what does she do with that $1 million and how does she connect the income sources with that million, how she divides it, to those bills on the left. So let's take a look. First, we gather all of her bills together. And inside the income ladder course, there'll be tools and processes to make this easier for you, whether that's a spreadsheet or an actual software program that'll go through. But after she did that, she clumped all of them together, and we see that her housing budget or her housing bill is $900 a month. Then we go down $600 for her utilities, $900 for groceries, $600 for healthcare, and then finally $1,000 a month that she wants for leisure, transportation, gifts like that. She's fairly conservative, so she wants to plan for an inflation rate of 5%. We have a couple options here, 1 through 10, but 5% is somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit aggressive. So this month, or this year, each month, she'll spend $4,000. Next year, the cost to get those same things and do the same stuff is now gonna cost her $4,200. You can see this is a bit of a tool that if we bump it up to say 10%, that things will change across the board. So play with it as you want, but we'll keep her at say 5%. Now let's jump into her income. So how does she take her $1 million and cover $4,000 this year and $4,200 next year? Let's find out. So she used the income ladder course and she took that $1 million and divided it across a ton of different income streams to match the bill risk level to income risk level. So this is what we got. Social Security, $1,600 a month, very stable. very strong. We put that in the priority 1 or the rung 1 situation. Next, pension, $1,000 a month, pretty good. We bump that up to a 2 position because it is from another country or another company. And so it's a little bit bigger, a little less confident than the US government. And so what we're going to do is bump that up to rung 2. Next, she had her IRAs that she divided into some corporate bonds, some preferred stocks, and dividend stocks. And then she also did a little bit of a real estate syndication for $500. You can see that as we go down different income streams, we're having semi-stable and the rung that it connects to, and variable and the rung that it connects to. What this does is it talks about how reliable that income stream is. Right? If you own a rental property, for example, or you're part of a real estate syndication, that is much less consistent than the US government paying you a check every single month. And so we want to take that into consideration, and we want to factor that in for how much money we're going to plan to receive every month. So let's look at her starting ladder. Initially, it looks pretty good, right? Her monthly bills are $4,000 a month. That sums all of these different rungs together. And her current income is $4,300 a month. Again, summing all of these things together. But when we break down the consistency or the reliability and start matching how frequently an annuity pays compared to how frequently a dividend stocks or a small business pays, that's where things can get a little more questionable. So let's look at the coverage dashboard. We have an option up here. We can either choose to be conservative, neutral, or optimistic. What we're going to do here is she's pretty conservative, so we're going to select conservative, which means that there are less reliability on how often things pay. And so this just gives us a bigger safety net or a bigger cushion. So again, we divide it out per rungs. First rung, she wanted $945 per month. She has $1,600 coming in. Again, remember that's Social Security. So she has a wonderful coverage, 169%, and she actually has some left over at $655. This is great. So then we're going to walk through each of the different rungs. $630 is what she wanted for utilities, groceries, $945, healthcare, $630, and then finally $1,050 for that leisure and transportation. We're going to take the reliability of stable, semi-stable, or variable and figure out how covered she actually is. So overall, her income health score is really nice, 83%. And we're looking at her must-have coverage, which is rung 1 and 2, your house and your utilities. You always want to have a roof over your head, and you always want the electricity working. She's got 165% coverage there, which is amazing. She has an extra 65% compared to what she needs, which is wonderful, conservative, and very safe. However, for some of the more advanced rungs, 4 and 5, her overall monthly coverage is still $550. So because some of her income is not as reliable as a government check, we want to take that lack of reliability into account and not plan on 100% of it every month, but plan on just a part of it every month. And then if we're wrong, hey, that's more money in the bank, that's more leisure, more travel, more gifts, more fun. But we want to be conservative. So let's take a look at her personalized completed ladder. First of all, her bills, $4,200. With the predictable income, because not all income is the same, right? Remember that the treasury bill or the government Social Security check is a lot more reliable than business income, real estate, or even dividend stocks. Then we see $3,650, which leaves us with $550 a month shortfall. But where, right? Let's go back to the ladder and figure out where our bills compared to our income are mismatched. So for housing, we have $945 and we planned $1,600 from that Social Security check. Wonderful. Well, we have an extra $655. As we go up the rungs, we can see we have an extra $370. We are under for rung 3, $270, $555 for rung 4, and $750 for rung 5. What does this mean? That she is very consistent and conservative at the bottom. It's very, very confident that she'll be able to cover her housing costs and her utilities. And as she gets into things like groceries, healthcare, and travel and leisure, she has extra money there that she can pull up and bring up, which is beautiful, right? You'd rather be more conservative, as Karen's style is, and then be able to pull that up. Now, this is a great tool for her to better understand that maybe her mix of income streams or her asset allocation is a little too conservative, right? She has a lot of extra funds sitting at the bottom of the ladder and a lot of red numbers at the top. So maybe she could take some of those investments and instead of keeping them conservative at the bottom, she bumps them up to the top of the ladder, thinking more real estate, more small business, more dividends or REITs or other longer term, maybe slightly higher risky things, income streams, to be able to get more inflation protection, more growth than what she has right now. Because right now she's a little conservative on the bottom side. So this is an example of how we would go through Solid Rungs profile for an income health calculator. We took Karen's pretty good plan and made it low effort and high confidence. She built a 12-year bond ladder that gives her retirement paychecks every single month. She used dividends, growths, and ETFs to steadily grow her income, not just maintain it. And she added a real estate syndication at the top layer for long-term passive income. And she automated it all. No checklists, no constant reallocations or shuffling, just direct deposits. Her new income health score, mid-90s. Essentials were locked in, wants were funded, and long-term, that was inflation protected. Best of all, she now spends 10 minutes a year thinking about money, not 10 minutes a day. If you're like Karen, you've saved well, you're not worried about the market today, but you're done treating retirement like a side hustle, then download the Income Health Calculator, link below. Or better yet, book a free income ladder call with me or someone on my team. We'll help you transform your plan of stable to set it and forget it. Because retirement should be less spreadsheets and more Saturdays.